Hello, and welcome to Business Watch. I'm your host, Bob Williford, President of the Henderson County Chamber of Commerce. Business Watch is a partnership effort between Blue Ridge Community College, the Henderson County Chamber of Commerce, and BRCC-TV. Our focus will be on the Henderson County economy, what drives it, what makes it better, what challenges we face, and what opportunities we have. Each episode will focus on a different segment of our local economy, and today we're going to talk about real estate. We have two of our county's real estate professionals with us today, Mr. Tim Ertzberger, who is the current president of the Henderson County Board of Realtors and works at Weichert Realty. And we have Steve Dozier, a former president of the local Board of Realtors, regional vice president with the North Carolina Association of Realtors. Both of you are members of the Chamber's Board of Directors, and Steve, you're with Beverly Hanks.
Correct.
So the real estate market in Henderson County has been impacted by the recession, and we want to focus on that today. But Tim, could you kind of start off by setting the groundwork and giving us a background of what's happened in the last few decades with the real estate industry and kind of where we are today?
Sure. Henderson County has always been a desirable place. If you look back in our history, we've had times where we've had some booms and then it slowed down a little bit. And you can look through just drive around town, look at the buildings, see what's there, and you can get a kind of a time frame set for when everything was. You had a lot of turn of the century stuff, and then you had another building boom in the 50s, and you see some communities that are all 50s houses. Then you go into the 80s, there was an awful lot of building going on. That's about the time where some of the magazines and stuff had mentioned that we were one of the best places to retire. So we had the big retirement boom there that lasted several years. And then the buildings slacked off a little bit. And then we had another building boom in the start of the 2000s. And not that it drops off, it does drop off, but it doesn't drop off a lot. But you've got, it kind of follows your generational waves as well too. Okay. And you've had that throughout our history.
Now, if you look at the, census data for Henderson County, it seems like every 10 years you could count on growth of between, say, 20 and 30%. And and I assume a lot of that drives what's going on in the real estate market. So what you're saying is it's a waves, it's dips and valleys?
Well, at least in Henderson County we have seen that. And you can just drive around town and look at the architecture to see that. You see some 50s houses and you see some 70s and early 80s. 60s, there's some there, but there's not near as many. It's a kind of a void type thing. So you see that.
And when would you say would be the peak? When I look back, I'm thinking 2006, 2007 seemed to be, things were going real well.
They were going really
and then
well.
The recession hit.
They were going really well.
And they weren't going so well.
Really, we started a rapid growth probably after the 80s. We really started on that upward trend that we really didn't let off until we got to this last little downturn.
Okay. That was a pretty strong, it's a
It
lot
was.
of years.
It was. We had some really good years there. And if you think about it, I moved here in '84 from Asheville. We didn't have Blue Ridge Mall.
Wow. Yep. That's a long move, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's so far down the road, different dialects.
And but, obviously didn't have the Super Walmart.
That was it. I mean, nothing. I mean, when you got past where it used to be the Roses that was there, where Bilo's and all that is,
okay.
At the red light, you're right across from the radio station. From there to the interstate, there wasn't really anything.
Wow.
So that's the growth you've had since the mid-'80s.
That's a lot of growth.
That's a lot of growth.
Well, Steve, what have you seen in recent years? What's the trend been?
Well, as you talked about, there's certainly peaks and valleys in any real estate market. And one of the things that Henderson County and really North Carolina had going for it was we saw steady, small increases. We only really got into double-digit appreciation in probably 2006 and 7, where we saw 10, 10.5, maybe 11% appreciation. There were markets around the U.S., Florida, Las Vegas, California, that were seeing 30 and 40, 50% appreciation rates. There is no market that can sustain that for very long. If we can go back to a 10-year chart that we've got here, it'll kind of show you a little bit of a history. To the far left of this chart is the year 2000. The red bars are the average sales price. The blue line is the number of homes sold, and the green line on the bottom is the days on market. If you look back at 2000, we were averaging, the average sale price was about 161,000, and we sold about 1,400 homes that year, and the average time on the market was 92 days. Compare that to 2007, when the average price was $260,000, we sold 1,878 homes, and the days on market was 93. Again, let's move forward just a couple of years. When you look at this past year that just finished, 2011, our average price is adjusted back to 197,000. We only sold 987 homes, but it took an average of 231 days to sell an average home in Henderson County. For the most part, we are back at 2004 pricing. And that is very hard for people to realize that, it's not in the same boom areas that we were in 2005, 6, and 7, that adjustments have been made. But again, I honestly think, and I think Tim would agree with this, is that I think we're at that bottom of the market. I think 2012 we'll start to see some improvement in the marketplace. Interest rates are at a record low. Yeah. It is still a little difficult to get a loan if you've got questionable credit, but if you've got good credit or money sitting in the bank, real estate is absolutely the best investment that you can make right now. Because again, I do think we've seen the bottom of that price point. I do think that we'll see 2012 be a good year. It won't probably be a great year, but it will be a good year that we can continue to see the recovery of the real estate market. And it is amazing what the real estate market does for the whole economy. There are studies that come out for every house that sells, every 2 houses it sells, it creates 1 job. For every house it sells, it adds $60,000 to the local economy. So again, this past year we sold 987 homes. If you look back at the peak of the homes we sold in any one year, it was back in 2005, we sold 2,173 homes. If you just look at the monetary difference between 2,100 homes selling and 987 homes selling, it is a tremendous impact on the local market.
And when you talk about how that the impact selling a home has in the local market, but the other thing that the real estate industry does is provides jobs for many other people who are not directly involved in real estate. Well, attorneys that are
you look at attorneys, you look at painters, you look at subcontractors that are doing, a lot of times when you move in a house, you've got to replace carpet, you've got to add a room or change a wall, pull out a wall or whatever. There are so many different jobs that real estate impacts. Right. Not necessarily just the realtors, but all the auxiliary services that go with buying a house. And again, every home, $60,000 for every home sold. And that goes back to feeding the local market, the contractors, the painters, the carpet layers, the bricklayers, all of that. So again, back in 2005, 6, and 7, we saw a tremendous growth in new home construction. That is very minimal now. A lot of builders have had the difficult time, as realtors have, as many other industries have, of surviving during these last 2 or 3 years. But again, I think the signs are definitely there that 2012 will be better, and again, we'll continue to improve in the years to come.
Now, and we're still seeing some population growth. It's not the numbers that we saw back in 06, 07, where it was I think the ballpark number used was, it's like a carload of 4 or 5 people come into Henderson County every day and stay. Now, we're still seeing some growth. Do you think that minimal growth of maybe 1% or 0.5% a year, or 1 person a day moving to Henderson County?
Well, my projection is that probably we will be looking at a 2 to 3% growth for a number of years. Those days of 8, 9, 10, 10.5%, I think are a ways down the road, unless something in the economy of a grand scale changes. But I think we're looking probably 3 to 5 years of at least 2, 3, 4% appreciation rates, and I do think it's starting this year, though.
What are the keys to, what are the signals we'll look for to know that we're starting to climb out of this? Are you going to look at days on the market? Are you going to look at the inventory? Just number of sales?
There's several things that we look at. And one of the things we have an index that we keep up with is the pending home sales. And pending home sales is ones that are under contract, have not closed yet. So the NAR tracks that nationwide. And it's going to fluctuate seasonally. In this time of year, it's always down from where it was November, December. But for December, it was up 5%. I think it's 5.6% over where it was last year. Okay. So we're at least that far ahead. That tells you what's going to sell basically next 6 to 8 weeks, kind of in the pipeline coming. So that's not bad. Now, it'll be interesting to see also where that goes in January. January around here is typically, January, February is a slower year, or slower months, because, as we all say, we joke, the realtors take vacations during those months. You don't know if it's going to be snowing, icing, it's hard to get people in to go look at homes, and you typically have fewer homes on the market.
I mean, if you take vacation in January and February, you probably get good rates too. So
Get to go to the beach then.
I'm sure you do. Now what's selling in this market?
Bob, again, if we can go back to a chart that we've got here, this is a breakdown by price range in 100,000 allotments. If you'll start at basically 12 o'clock on this chart where you see the 17%, those are homes between $0 and $99,000, basically 100,000. The red, which is 45% of the market that's currently selling, is between 1 and 200,000, and then the green to the left of that chart at 22% is between 2 and 300. 80% of every home that we're selling right now is between $0 and $300,000. Again, looking at that chart, when you go 400, it's 7%, and then you get down into low single digits and even less than 1% when you get up in the higher end. One of the things that we continue to look at is the days on market. One of the things that realtors typically talk about is a absorption rate or month supply index. When you look at homes in the 0 to 100,000, if I were to stop taking, let's just say we've got 100 listings on the market, and I stop taking any new listings, how long is it going to take to sell that 100 listings? And currently in that price range, it is a number of about 7.6 months. If you get much above that, again, just an example, if you go to the 300, 400,000, it is a 25-month time period if I stop taking any new listings to sell that 100 homes.
Right.
The scary part is that when you get to 900 to $1 million, the $1 million is 152 months. That's a 15-year supply. It doesn't take that long for every single home to sell, but as an average in the absorption rate, it is taking a very long period of time. And again, it goes back to if you're going to sell your house and there's a need to sell it, price it right, price it competitively, and price it to get it sold, not what the prices were back in 2007, because you simply will not get that price. You simply won't.
You mentioned 2007. What on that chart would change if you were looking at 2007 numbers?
Well, in 2007, our average price was quite a bit higher. It was almost
Right.
$65,000, $70,000 higher. So that generated those numbers being at a little lower percentage for that. Probably 5 years ago, our 80% number that I talked 0 to 300 was probably more like 65 to 70. But with the market changes, the average price coming down, it has caused that number to increase and go up to 80%. I strongly feel that that number will start decreasing this year. As again, I think we'll start seeing some upticks in the average sale price as well.
But now on the high end, the $1 million homes, I assume that was a higher percentage in 06,
It was a
07.
higher percentage, and again, we went through a number of years that we were selling a lot of homes. Back just in 2006 and 7, 27 to 30% of our market was coming out of Florida as second homes.
Right.
The folks that have retired to Florida and were coming halfway back had that spendable income, but they've taken a bath in Florida as well. So their return on that investment in Florida that allowed them to buy a home here is not the same as what it was. So that 27 to 30% of the marketplace is down probably in single digits now. We're still getting some folks out of Florida, but it is way down from what it was back in the boom years.
And a builder had told me this, gosh, probably back in 04, 05. They were talking about what they were building. And they weren't building the $200,000 homes and down. They were building the 400 and 500. Because basically they said it's the same amount of energy, but we make the profit margins higher on those homes. That's not true today anymore, is it?
People aren't buying the size of homes. And I would dare say you could go back and look at the data, but if our average home size now is 22 to 2,400 square feet, back in those boom years, because you could buy so much more for your dollar, that the average size was probably 3,000 or more. There are a number of subdivisions in the area that are fairly high-end developments that are now looking at changing their minimum requirements for house size. I know one development that their minimum square footage on a house is more like 5,000 square feet. They're looking to reduce that down to 2,500 to 3,000 because they can't attract homes that are going to be at 5,000 square feet. You just simply can't afford it in most cases.
With a little bit of growth that we do have, and there's not a whole lot of building currently being done, do you see the inventory shrinking at all, or is the inventory standing pretty static, or?
Tim, do you want to address that with the change
or
we've
is that
seen
something
just
that
in
you-
the
that you're
last few
measuring?
months?
Yeah, we've had, as far as homes on the market, you will always see that go down in the wintertime here for the same reasons we discussed a minute ago. You've got people don't want their home on the market during the holidays. They don't want to have people showing their home during Christmas or so forth. Plus, they know that during the wintertime, the weather is so unpredictable that you don't have the number of buyers coming into town that you had before. So you'll traditionally see that going down. Now, we have this past winter seen some really low numbers, traditionally low numbers for inventory. We were looking at basically for the whole western North Carolina region that we serve, it was down around 6,000 total homes, which is really down there.
Down to 6,000?
Down to 6,000 that's 5 counties, basically Madison, Buncombe, Transylvania, Haywood, and Henderson.
Where just a few months ago, it was 9,700 homes on the market.
And if you compare that to last January, is it still down?
Again, I think it's down a little bit,
Okay.
mainly because of the economy. 2011 was actually our toughest year in real estate. Our price is lower than it's been in a number of years, and as I mentioned earlier, that we're back at 2004 pricing. Our average price now is probably back to somewhere beyond that, or the number of units selling. But again, there are so many positives that are seen now. I don't know of any realtor that I have not talked to in the last month and a half that business is not looking better. They're busier than they've been. There are more people looking. I went out and showed 10 properties the other day, and 4 of those had 2 offers coming in on, which we haven't heard of that in a good while now. So again, good signs that the market's starting to see some recovery. There's some pent-up
Excellent.
buying needs too.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yep.
And one question we can touch on real briefly, we're mostly talking about residential. Now, commercial is also a component in the real estate market. What are you seeing on the commercial side, if anything?
Not near as much.
Right.
You really don't. Looking at the commercial realtors in Henderson County, a lot of them that were doing strictly commercial are now doing a lot of residential as well.
Okay.
Because that's mostly what is selling. And you're going to have that lag there. As the market picks up and the economy starts to turn around, people are going to feel more comfortable about opening up the little shop that they always wanted to. And they can get to do that then. We're eventually going to have that catch back up, but commercial is definitely lagging right now.
So and I heard this from builders too, that when real estate slowed down, they said, this was late 07, 08, thank God commercial's still going.
Mm-hmm.
Now the commercial stopped, so that's where the lag is. When residential
And
picks up, we
there's
would
a lag
expect.
in every market. We were somewhat of the last to be hit by the slowdown in the economy because, again, we had so much coming out of Florida and other places. So we will be a little slower in recovering than maybe some of the other places that have sold off that excess inventory. But you got the same thing with commercial. Commercial lagged a little behind residential in the bit of a downturn to it. But there are projections that the rental rate and the occupancy of commercial property will increase over the next 2 years. But again, it's going to be at a slow pace. But as far as selling commercial, until we can create jobs and get our unemployment rate back into a reasonable number of 6-7% or hopefully less at some point, when unemployment rates are at 9 and 10%, that's what's driving the commercial market as well.
And we've always been a lag market. I mean, it's kind of, everybody wants to buy their second home in the mountains or retire here or so forth. We've got so many people lined up and waiting with their houses on the market somewhere else in the country. They're coming as soon as they can get here.
Yeah.
But they can't get out of where they're at. They can't get out of Florida. They can't get out of New Jersey or even Cincinnati or wherever they're at. They just can't get their house sold to get down here. I tell you what, you could make a living just collecting $5 for each one of those you had. The realtors would be fine because they got them lined up.
And to make sure I have the terminology right, it used to be the halfbacks. People who retired to Florida, they got tired of Florida.
As
and they came
realtors, we don't
halfway
call
back.
them that though.
Yeah, we call them clients.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the new term I think is the B-backs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the people who look, look at homes and said, I'll be back when I sell my house somewhere else, and then I'll.
Kind of
buy
a new
that.
term, yes, that
Okay.
that has been come up with, but that is exactly true. They'll come and look and like what they see and can't wait to get here, but they
Yeah.
gotta take care of things where they're at first. And the other places are worse than us, so it can take a little bit longer.
Okay.
Bob, one of the things I would like to address is a little bit about what homes are selling for as far as a percentage of what the list price is. When you sit down with a homeowner who is thinking about listing their house and they are thinking that they want to be back to what they paid for the house in 2005, 6, or 7, that is a very hard discussion for us to have with folks, because in some cases you're not going to make the money back that you invested into the house. And while most of the reports that you see will tell you that homes are selling for 91, 92, 93% of what they listed for, there's somewhat of an error in that is that that's of the last adjusted list price. So if a home was listed at $300,000, adjusted down to $290, adjusted down to $280, and sold for $270, the reports are typically giving you that difference between $270 and $280.
Right.
But of the original list price, that is the reality, because if you would have listed that house at a proper number to start with, we're still selling homes in 10 days, 30 days. I just recently listed one and sold it in 2 weeks. If it's priced competitively for what the marketplace is today, you can still sell it in a reasonable period of time, a very reasonable period of time. But the problem is we still have folks that are upside down from what they bought it for and are still trying to hold to that price. Well, that creates a situation where you're sitting on the market 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year. And when you truly look at the original list price to what homes are selling for in 6 months, that number in Henderson County is about 82% rather than what you're typically being seen, or that you typically see in the reports of 92%. When it goes to a year, 73%. And that's a dramatic change. But again, that is in most cases, the homes have been priced back at the 2007-8 pricing, that they're not realizing what the true impact of what the market has done. And again, you will typically see those. Any house that's sitting on the market is going through at least 2, 3, 4, 5 price adjustments to get back to that point that the market is ready and willing to buy that house.
Now, you're talking about selling homes. Just expand upon that. What would you advise a seller? I mean, everybody wants to get as close, these days, as close to what they put into the home.
Yeah.
I obviously would like to get more than that, but what can a seller do to maybe move it quicker, get more value out of it? What kind of tips would you offer to somebody?
I think the biggest thing is listen to the experts. And again, there's a million home selling shows on TV. Declutter your house, have a realistic price on the house. If you're expecting to sell a house and you need to do some improvements, do those at a reasonable rate. I've had one lady that I talked to that says if I replace my carpet with hardwood floors and put $7,500 into it, I can get $15,000 out of it.
Right.
That is not true.
Okay.
You typically, for anything other than a bathroom or a kitchen where you're touching water, it's the most expensive renovation, you're typically seeing about 50 to 60% return on that investment. So be careful in what additional money you put into a house that you may be a little upside down on in the first place. But again, listen to the experts. If we come to you as realtors, between Tim and I or any other realtor in the area, and say the home is worth, let's just use the number $250, and because you paid $270 for it, you want to price it at $270, you're going to see that 70, 80% return on that investment.
Right.
When you look at the numbers, we're almost seeing somewhere between 1.25% and 1.5% drop per month of the original list price. So if you price it right, correctly the first time, you can get it sold in a very short period of time, 30, 60 days, 90 days. If you price it back at what it was in 2007, 6, and 8, you're going to be sitting on the market for a long time, and you're going to see the impact of that. Because again, any house that sits on the market for any length of time starts getting a stigmatism to it. It's overpriced. There's something wrong with it. Are they really motivated? There's a number of different things that we as realtors look at as when a home sits on the market. We really start digging into the history of that home to see whether or not it's overpriced. We'll look at the mortgage on it, what the tax rate is, all of those things, and that's what we're trained to do, and that's why the realtor really plays an important part in it.
So if you've been on the market for a while, you want to take it off and maybe re-enter the market at a better time.
That's a possibility, because rentals are certainly going up.
Yeah.
Rental rates are increasing, close to double digits at this point, because again, it is harder for people to get loans these days. If you got credit scores 650 or less, it's virtually impossible.
Okay.
But again, it's part of that process. So if you've got money to invest in rental property, it is a great time to do that now.
Okay.
For those that can't afford to buy a house or can't qualify for the loans, again, it's that evolution of the ever-changing marketplace.
Here's a quick answer one. January and February are bad months to put your house on the market. What are the best months?
Definitely people like to hit spring and they like to hit fall around here because you've got a
Yeah.
lot of people coming in for the leaves.
All right, now you're representing the buyer.
Yeah.
If you're out looking for this property.
I've got the buyer that's going to buy his seller's house.
Right.
And one of the things that the buyer,
Fairly priced though, Tim, okay?
the fairly priced house. Well, one of and the sellers playing off that need to realize that when the buyer's agent is working for the buyers, we're trying to get that house for the best price for the buyers.
Right.
So we are going to do the digging. We're going to do that research. We're going to see how long it's been on the market, how many price reductions it's had. We're going to do a market analysis to take back to our clients and say, you know, when we look at everything in the neighborhood, we think the house should be selling for this amount.
Right.
And we're going to make our offer accordingly. He brought up the part about the carpet and the so forth. Well, we expect it to have a floor. Now, whether that's hardwood or carpet or whatever, you could spend a lot of money putting hardwood in. We're probably not going to value that any more than just it has a floor already, and that's what we expect. So we're going to do that research to get them the best home for the best price.
Okay. Well, it's I guess everybody, y'all obviously oftentimes are working at opposite ends and,
Yeah.
and
Again, as a seller's agent, you're trying to work to get the best price for it with the least amount of hassle for your
Right.
client. Tim, if he's working with a buyer, is trying to get the most aggressive price, and again, he's doing that research. There's just little subtleties that you look through. When you walk through a house, you're looking in the closet to see if there's two sets of clothes, a man and a woman's. If there's only one, there's a motivating factor. There's a number of factors we're not trained to do. It's just something you learn through the years as to ways to look for the motivating factors for your buyer to get the best deal.
and we do want to bake some cookies when people are coming by.
It helps.
Okay, that's,
Boy,
I have heard that one before.
We hadn't even scratched the surface today, though, on just about everything we could have talked about.
Well, we may have to do this again. We're about to run out of time. Tim, Steve, thank you very much for coming and participating today, and thank you to Blue Ridge Community College and BRCC-TV. We hope you'll join us for future episodes as we focus on other segments of the economy and maybe come back and talk a little bit more about real estate.
Would love to.
Definitely.
But, we certainly do appreciate you guys coming, and thanks for tuning in.